And today we have the speaker for this session, Dr. Arun Wadha. Dr. Arun Wadha actually truly does not need an introduction in the field of pediatric fraternity of India. And it's my privilege to introduce you, sir. So Dr. Wadha is the national trainer in the IAP practical vaccinology course and strides training module of the President's Action Plan 2018-19. One specific point that I would like to mention here for the IAP specifically, Dr. Arun Wadha is the founder president of the South Delhi IAP and was president for the 2 consecutive years. He is a faculty for adolescent vaccination TOT in Pedicon 2017. Dr. Wadha has presented a good number of papers and published in different articles in the peer-reviewed journals, both in national, international journals, and he was faculty in national conferences, specifically in the IAP conferences, as well as global conferences. He has written chapters on IAP book on vaccinology and book on FAQ on vaccinology. And one specific extracurricular part that I would like to mention, Dr. Wadha is an excellent debater. It's our privilege to learn from him today. Over to you, sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Partha. And I must also thank Dr. Sharda Jain. She's done most of my homework, so maybe it will be a slight repetition, but then it will be a revision also probably. So we would take care of more of pediatric practice and vaccination pediatric practice like ma'am did for gynecologists and the vaccinations in women. We'll talk about adolescent girls. Maybe next year we can talk about boys also. So before we start, I have a statement to make that I have been on the advisory board of all these vaccinology companies. And as you can see, MSD is not here, so most likely there'll be no conflict of interest. We all support scientific evidence, and please read the information before you actually start writing the vaccine. So today I'll be talking about how important is to prevent cervical cancer, who should be vaccinated, adolescent vaccination especially, and the safety. And the addressing, we'll address something about the vaccine hesitancy, which has been coming up in a biggish way in our country, not like the US or maybe European countries. So first thing was how important is to prevent. Like ma'am has already said, it's associated with huge morbidity and mortality. One woman dying every 9 minutes, 60,000 deaths annually. And like I heard ma'am, one of these conferences, one plane load 747 dying every day. So, and we are still deliberating whether we need to vaccinate or not. So obviously what I wanted to say was it is required. So why question does not apply here, it is required. Who should be vaccinated? Who should be vaccinated means it should offer maximum benefit in sexually naive girls and women. And the ideal target age group is 9 to 14-year-old girls. But in addition to this, the primary target group of adolescent girls, the catch-up groups also are important, like the postpartum women and ladies till 45 years of age. Then specifically talking about the adolescent HPV vaccination, we know that the increased risk of HPV vaccination infection in young females is more because of the the progression of the transformation zone. Initially, it is here where the cancer occurs the most, then during adolescence comes out and then again goes back. So this is the time 9 to 45 years, and I'm sure all gynecologists know about this. Specifically, exposure to HPV at a young age increases the risk of cervical cancer. So this, what I want to say in this slide is that if the exposure is at an earlier age, the risk of developing cancer later on in life is more. And these graphs are self-explanatory. This is for SIN and invasive cervical cancer. Earlier exposure means more chances that the girl would grow up and have a cervical cancer. And they've actually calculated that there is a 5 times increased risk of invasive cancer if the first intercourse happened before 18 years of age as compared to after 22 years of age. So imagine this 5 years difference of the first intercourse actually makes the child more vulnerable to have cervical cancer's lesion 5 times more, which is actually quite more. So going further into the adolescent vaccination, there are 5 reasons for vaccinating girls at this age. The number one reason is, as we all, as pediatricians, as doctors, we know that vaccines are meant for prevention. They're actually not meant for treatment, although there are new vaccines gradually coming up, including for cervical cancer, which will be used as therapeutic vaccines. But therapeutic vaccines are still a far cry. Even for HIV, they're working for it. But HPV vaccine is a vaccine, so it has to be given for prevention. It is just like an example that a seat belt is to be worn before you start off on the car rather than after the accident. So you have to have it before. And all organizations like WHO, HPV, WHO and CDC, they recommend HPV to be administered before the first exposure to HPV infection. This is point number 2, and actually very important because this is a simple graph which shows you the GMT titers according to age. This is the age, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years, and on this axis is the GMT titers. And as this graph shows, 9 to 13 years, the GMT levels are best. After that, the GMT levels gradually fall down when you vaccinate. So this is the time when you develop best immunity. Number 3 point was the immunizing before the exposure can give highest possible per protocol efficacy. What is the efficacy seen? In cervical cancer, it was 98%. For vulvovaginal lesions and cancer, it's around 100%. So this is against these serotypes which are present in the vaccine, that being 16-18 for cancer and 6-11, 16-18 for the genital warts. So the efficacy for the serotypes present in the vaccine, it's 98% for cancer and 100%. So before the exposure, if you give, this is the highest possible efficacy you can achieve. I'm sure you know that it cannot be more than 100%. Point number 4, why you need to vaccinate adolescent girls is there is a high risk of acquiring HPV even with the first male partner. So, people might say that I have only one partner. There are no multiple partners like initially we thought that, multiple partners make a difference. They do make a difference, but even with the first partner, the chances of infection are high. And this study was there, which had 244 female university students aged between 18 and 22. So actually quite young. And this was a 6-year-old study. And whenever they acquired a second partner, they were excluded from the study. And they were studied within 3 months of the sexual intercourse. So you can see the results, the cumulative incidence after first HPV infection was 31% within a year and 50% after 3 years. So even with one partner, you can have the incidence almost 50% in 3 years. So it's not that only multiple partners are to be there to have HPV infection. And a very, very important point, number 5, is that 2 doses of vaccine offer similar protection as 3 doses. In these graphs, the lowest graph line is the one which the patients took as 1 dose. After that, they did not take the subsequent doses. In the green one, they took 2 doses, 0 and 2. After that, did not take. And the topmost are the 2 graphs, the red and the purple one, which red and the purple blue one. So here, both the graphs actually represent either 3 doses or 2 doses taken 6 months apart. The green was 2 months apart. So when you take 2 doses 6 months apart, or when you take 0 to 6, 3 doses, it's exactly the same. You can see it's like a carbon copy of that. So when 2 doses of vaccine give you the same immunity as 3 doses, and it was non-inferior to the 3-dose schedule, the cost saved is quite a bit. 1/3 of the cost is saved. So that's another one reason, very important reason why we should vaccinate before the girl turns 15. Before the 15th birthday, if you give, you need 2 doses. This is another study where immunogenicity of 2-dose schedule, 0 and 6 months in girls between 9 to 13 years of age. The levels were found to be statistically non-inferior to HPV 16 and 18, which are there in the vaccine. And the GMT titers in girls receiving 2-dose schedule were between 1.7 to 2.24 higher. This is important to see, 2.24 folds higher. In fact, not only they were non-inferior, they were higher than the ones in women who received a 3-dose schedule. So, in fact, 2-dose schedule not only was equal, but even better. So again, goes in the favor of the point that you should give the vaccine before before the child turns 15th birthday. So by 14 years of age. As soon as the 15th birthday comes, they become 15 years of age. So immunogenicity data of the quadrivalent vaccine, this blue line is the girls 10 to 15 years of age. This is boys 10 to 15 years of age. And this is women 16 to 23 years of age. And the graphs are quite self-explanatory that the GMT levels were statistically non-inferior or in fact better than those young females between 16 to 23 years of age. The blue ones and the red ones are all higher. These are the people, girls between 10 to 15, boys between 10 to 15. This is after 15 years of age. So non-inferior immunogenic response to all 4 HPV serotypes permit the bridging efficacy data. That means the data of the older woman and the young woman matched. Whenever we give a vaccine, we might be giving another vaccine along with it. So like 10 years, we might give a TDAP along with the HPV, or you may give a meningitis vaccine or a flu vaccine along with it. So this concomitant study was done because sometimes when you give 2 vaccines together, the efficacy of the other vaccine may be less. So this concomitant administration of vaccines along with HPV was studied, and it was found that it is acceptable. It does not interfere with the immune response to any HPV, immune response to the HPV vaccine. Is it effective? Is the vaccine effective? We saw just now the efficacy against cervical cancer is 98%, vulvovaginal cancer 100%, genital warts 100%. This is against the serotypes which are present in the vaccine, 16-18 for cancer, 6-11, 16-18 for the warts and cancer. And so we know that it has a proven efficacy. Then looking at the long-term effectiveness, 100% efficacy has been found, effectiveness has been seen in preventing cervical and precancers caused by the serotype 16-18, even after 14 years. So that is the study. Long-term effectiveness has been seen. 14 years, we have studied till then. How safe is the vaccine? It is very safe. It has been well studied. There is over 10 years of research and development. 7 phase 3 studies are there. More than that, you must see that there are 29,000 subjects and more than 15 phase 4 studies. That means the forced licensure studies, which involve 1 million subjects. 1 million is a big number. So these are the amount of studies and people who have been studied, and safety has been established, and safety is still being continued to be evaluated for leverage several large post-licensure surveillance studies. Over 15 studies and more than 1 million pre-adolescent, adolescent adults from various countries are under evaluation. Major agencies across the globe endorse HPV vaccination, like the WHO, the Canadian Public Agency of Canada, then CDC, Food and Drug Administration, that means the FDA, the European Society, and UK Society also. So they all say that it is endorsed, that it should be given. Health authorities, post-licensure studies have been done. They reaffirm the positive safety profile of QIV, HPV, and said the CDC and other leading health organizations closely monitor the safety continuous basis, and they have published all these papers to say that it is definitely safe. There was a WHO position paper published in 2017, which studied the adverse events, which included the adverse events, and they said that generally the adverse events are non-serious or of short duration, like pain, swelling, syncopal attack or something, or fever. And the data on safety of HPV vaccination, pregnancy is limited. Ma'am had covered this. Young female becomes pregnant, you stop the dose, you can complete the cycle after the pregnancy has been completed. Termination is not required. Breastfeeding is not a contraindication, and should not be given to anyone who has severe allergic reaction to previous HPV dose. This was a GACVS meeting at SRANC, which was done this year only in 2020, before the corona started. And they found that HPV vaccines were found to be safe and have a favorable safety profile. No confirmed clinically serious signals about safety. Anaphylaxis and syncope are known, but they're not serious. And it also concluded that available data does not support an association with HPV vaccine and other diseases like infertility or polycystic ovarian disease. So all these are only coincidental formations, they're not associations. What do the recommendations say? The WHO says that 2-dose schedule should be followed and it should be given. It is not inferior to 3-dose schedule. And even IAP says that 9 to 14 years of age, children should be given 2 doses. And the IAP has come out with new ACVIP guidelines, which will be published in 2-3 days, which also reconfirm that 2 doses, 9 to 14 years, and after that, 3 doses. So till now, the importance of adolescent vaccine, HPV vaccine, what did we learn? HPV is associated with huge disease burden in India, with 1 woman dying every 9 minutes. Adolescent females are the ideal target for HPV vaccination. Studies have established the safety, efficacy, effectiveness of the quadrivalent HPV vaccine. Organizations like WHO, IAP recommend vaccine as a 2-dose regimen in girls between 9 to 14 years of age. Then coming to the fifth topic, which I had told we'll cover, was how to address the HPV vaccine hesitancy. So you can show the ACP VIP immunization schedule. Like I told you, the new schedule is coming, but it shows the same thing, that 9 to 14 years, 2 doses, 15 to 18 years, 3 doses, along with TD, TDAP you can give. People, what they ask is, if we give at this age, will the protection last long if we vaccine so early? There is long-term efficacy data that cervical cancer, genital warts, 100% protection is there till 10 years. And mathematical modeling studies show that it will last longer, because till the vaccine is used till 40, 50 years old, that means probably by 2030, 40, we'll know how long actually it lasts. But just now, 10 years it's proven. After that, mathematical modeling says that it will continue later on also. That's why boosters are not recommended. And then you also have a 14-year-old follow-up data of long-term effectiveness of vaccine in females 16 to 23 years of age. That also showed 100% efficacy against the SIN2 and 100% efficacy in the SIN1. So these are their data which is published and accepted. Immunogenicity of 2 and 3 doses, 120 months, that means 10 years post-vaccination, it was concluded that GMTs for the HPV 6, 11, 16, 18 after 2D or 3D in HPV girls were non-inferior to 3-dose adult vaccination schedule up to 10 years. So that means 2 dose and 3 dose of the 4 quadrivalent HPV was same after 10 years. And this is a long-term data. You can see it's like overlapping. So 2 doses given in adolescence, 3 doses given after adolescence provide the same level after 10 years of follow-up also. When we address the hesitancy questions, like ma'am said just now, even I would reconfirm and revise for you that should be maximum 15 seconds, 2 to 4 short sentences. The message should be very personal and emotional, and it should not involve high jargon. So what you need to say, what you can say is, let's do it today. Let's prevent cancer, keep your child healthy. Let's protect your daughter and protect yourself. We have to do it together. Let's give maximum benefit to your child, something like this. And please don't talk about percentage immunity, especially like sexually transmitted diseases and promiscuousness, because parents would come and say, no, our daughter is not like this. We don't want to vaccinate. So these words should not be used at all. Strong recommendation is the key. There was a study which said that 62% of HPV vaccinated women mentioned they took the vaccine because doctors' strong recommendation is the reason for taking the vaccine. So a strong recommendation is actually very important, very meaningful for the patient to take the vaccine. The approach should be a 4-way approach, same-day approach, creating cervical cancer prevention champions within the clinic. I'll come to these points just now. Go digital, you lead by example. Same way, same day means make cervical cancer vaccination as part of your routine discussion on every antenatal visit. This is for the gynecologist, provide checklist of all vaccines, like we make a vaccination chart. So include the HPV vaccination in your vaccination chart. Ensure discussion about cervical cancer vaccination while vaccinating, while TDAP and TT vaccines or the flu vaccines are given. So TDAP is given at 10 years. Whenever you give the TDAP vaccine at 10 years, ensure that you talk about the cervical cancer vaccine also. Similarly, for gynecologists, the cervical cancer vaccination should be a part of the postpartum discharge protocol. So whenever the patient is discharged, whenever they come back to you for 6 weeks follow-up checkup, then you must talk about this. And in case any woman is not able to take the vaccine, please mention that cervical cancer vaccine was recommended in our file. And then you can follow up later. Cancer prevention champions means you make a routine of talking to this yourself, and also the paramedical staff should be trained to talk about this vaccine. Suppose you put a poster in your clinic and the poster is there, the patient reads the poster, the staff can help in explaining about the vaccine whenever the patient is reading, or they might come and talk to the staff, or the staff can hand over some literature to them and they must know at least basic vaccination counseling techniques. Ensure that there is patient education literature included in the patient file. Ensure paramedical staff provides cervical cancer vaccination post-delivery as a routine. These days, we talk about webinars, so we also talk about digital revolution. So share literature, videos about cervical cancer. Prevention through various social media. One of them could be WhatsApp, Facebook. Then share information about cervical cancer prevention through your Facebook page. Discuss and needs importance of cancer through teleconsultations. Ensure vaccination reminder system in your clinic. Maintain patient record to ensure dose compliance is to be there. The third dose is the one which is commonly missed. So please do make a record of the third dose and give them a return call whenever it is due. Leading by example probably is the best way, because when you lead by example, point number one is that that means you are convinced yourself. And once you convinced yourself, you can convince others. And when you convince yourself, you will take your vaccine, you will vaccinate your daughter and wife, and you vaccinate your staff. So when the patient comes, you tell them, I have vaccinated my daughter, my wife. So you give an example that you've done it, so why not you? And I must tell you one personal thing. I have 2 sons, I don't have daughters. I have vaccinated both of them. So in India, still it's not recommended. But when I talk to parents, I tell them, I have 2 sons, I have vaccinated them, and you have daughters, and you're still thinking. So it's not right. And it's actually more of a cervical cancer vaccine. So you must take it. That is by leading by example. So in short, we can say that effective counseling and a strong recommendation is what it all takes to save a woman for cervical cancer. And as you know, and you must remember this, that vaccines don't save lives. They don't save lives at all. Vaccines lying in your fridge are not helping anybody. Only vaccination saves lives. So vaccines don't. Thank you. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your detailed discussion. And with your due permission, I would like to take the questions. And so few questions could be for both of you. So I will take up on that way. And